Maya Williams clutched her 3-year-old daughter Zoe's hand tightly as they walked through the busy Atlanta airport terminal. The little girl's eyes were red from crying, and Maya felt exhausted after their delayed flight from Detroit. She had been traveling for a job interview that didn't go well, and now they were stuck waiting for their connecting flight home to Chicago. Maya checked her phone and saw they still had 2 hours before their next flight. Her stomach growled loudly, reminding her that neither she nor Zoe had eaten anything substantial since early morning. She looked at her wallet and counted the remaining cash, only $43 left. After paying for parking, gas, and the cheap hotel room from the night before, this was all she had until her next paycheck. "Mommy, I'm hungry," Zoe whispered, tugging at Maya's worn jacket. Maya's heart broke a little more. She had been struggling as a single mother ever since Zoe's father left when the baby was just 6 months old. Working 2 part-time jobs while trying to finish her computer science degree had been incredibly difficult. But Maya was determined to create a better life for her daughter. They made their way to the food court, where Maya scanned the prices with growing anxiety. Everything seemed so expensive. A simple kids' meal cost $12 and adult meals were even more. She calculated quickly in her head. If they both ate here, she wouldn't have enough money for transportation home from the Chicago airport. Maya spotted a small cafe that seemed less crowded and approached the counter. The worker behind the register was a middle-aged white man with graying hair and a permanent scowl on his face. His name tag read, Derek. Maya smiled politely and looked up at the menu board, trying to find the cheapest options. "Excuse me," Maya said softly. "Do you have any sandwiches or meals under $8? She held Zoe's hand while balancing their carry-on bag on her shoulder. Derek looked at Maya with obvious annoyance. He glanced at her faded jeans, her daughter's, mismatched clothes, and the worn sneakers on Maya's feet. His expression grew even more hostile. "Lady, this isn't a charity," Derek said loudly, making several customers turn to look. "If you can't afford airport food, maybe you shouldn't be flying." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. Several people were now staring at them, and she noticed some whispering to each other. Zoe moved closer to her mother, sensing the tension in the air. "I can afford it," Maya replied quietly, trying to maintain her dignity. "I was just asking about your lower-priced options." Derek rolled his eyes dramatically. "Look around you," he said, gesturing broadly. "This is an airport, not some fast food joint in the hood. Everything here costs what it costs. If you want cheap food, take the bus next time." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She felt tears threatening to form in her eyes, but she refused to let this man see her cry. Other customers were now openly staring, and Maya heard someone behind her mutter something about people like that. "I'll take 2 chicken sandwiches," Maya said as calmly as she could manage, pulling out her remaining cash. "That'll be $24.50, Derek said with a smirk, clearly enjoying her discomfort. Maya's heart sank. She only had $20 in bills and some change. She started counting her coins, her hands shaking slightly from anger and embarrassment. "Are you seriously going to count pennies?" Derek asked loudly. "There's a line behind you, lady." An elderly woman behind Maya stepped forward. "I'll cover the difference," she said kindly, pulling out a $5 bill. Maya turned to thank the woman, but Derek shook his head. "Actually, we're out of chicken sandwiches," he lied, looking directly at Maya with obvious satisfaction. "But there are chicken sandwiches right there in the display case," the elderly woman pointed out. "Those are reserved for other customers," Derek replied coldly. "Maybe try the vending machines down the hall." Maya realized what was happening. This man was deliberately trying to humiliate her because of how she looked, because he had made assumptions about her based on her race and appearance. She had encountered discrimination before, but never so blatantly, and never in front of her young daughter. "Come on, Zoe," Maya said softly, taking her daughter's hand. "Let's go somewhere else." As they walked away, Maya heard Derek say to his coworker, loud enough for others to hear, "Some people just don't belong in places like this." Maya found a quiet corner near their gate and sat down with Zoe. She opened her laptop bag and pulled out 2 granola bars she had packed for emergencies. It wasn't much, but it would have to do until they got home. "Why was that man mean to us, Mommy?" Zoe asked innocently. Maya struggled to find the right words. How do you explain racism and prejudice to a 3-year-old? How do you tell your child that some people will judge them before they even speak? "Sometimes people are unkind, baby," Maya said finally. "But that doesn't mean we stop being kind ourselves." As they shared the granola bars, Maya made a silent promise to herself and to her daughter. She would never forget this moment, this feeling of helplessness and humiliation. She would work harder than ever to build something better, not just for themselves, but for other people who had been made to feel small and unwelcome. Maya opened her laptop and began working on a project she had started months ago, a simple app idea that had been growing in her mind. She had been learning to code in her spare time, dreaming of creating something that could change their lives. That day in the airport, watching other passengers avoid eye contact after witnessing her humiliation, Maya decided that her app wouldn't just change their lives. It would prove that Derek and people like him were wrong about who belonged where. She didn't know it then, but this moment of pain and determination would become the foundation of something extraordinary. Years later, when reporters asked Maya about the inspiration for her billion-dollar company, she would always remember Derek's cruel words and the promise she made to her daughter in that airport terminal. 6 months after the airport incident, Maya was working the night shift at a local diner while Zoe slept at her grandmother's house. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as she wiped down tables and refilled ketchup bottles, her mind constantly racing with ideas for her app. During her breaks, she would sit in the back office with her laptop, coding and researching market trends. The app concept had evolved significantly since that humiliating day at the airport. Maya had initially wanted to create something related to travel, but as she dug deeper into her research, she discovered a much larger problem. Millions of people, especially women and minorities, were being overlooked by traditional financial institutions. Banks would reject loan applications based on credit scores that didn't tell the whole story of someone's financial responsibility. Maya knew this problem intimately. Despite having a steady income from her 2 jobs and never missing a payment on her student loans, she had been denied a small business loan 3 times. Each rejection letter felt like another version of Derek's dismissive treatment at the airport. The system seemed designed to keep people like her from advancing. Her app idea began to take shape around this frustration. What if there was a way to help people build credit and access financial services without the traditional barriers? What if someone's potential could be measured by more than just their current credit score? Maya spent countless hours researching financial technology, studying successful apps, and learning about regulations in the banking industry. She reached out to professors from her college days, attended free workshops at the local library, and joined online forums where entrepreneurs shared advice. During one particularly long night at the diner, Maya met Robert Chen, a regular customer, who always ordered coffee and pie while working on his laptop. Robert was a venture capitalist who had grown tired of the corporate world and was looking for innovative startups to support. He noticed Maya's dedication to her laptop during breaks and struck up a conversation. "Working on something interesting?" Robert asked one evening, nodding toward Maya's screen full of code. Maya hesitated. She had learned to be cautious about sharing her dreams, especially after the airport experience. But something about Robert's genuine curiosity made her open up. She explained her vision for a financial app that could help underserved communities access credit and banking services. Robert listened intently, asking thoughtful questions about her target market, revenue model, and technical approach. Maya was surprised by how thoroughly she had thought through these aspects, even without formal business training. "Have you considered applying to startup incubators?" Robert asked. "There are programs specifically designed to help diverse entrepreneurs get their ideas off the ground." Maya admitted she had heard of these programs but assumed they were only for people with MBA degrees or existing connections in the tech industry. Robert shook his head and pulled out his phone, showing her several applications that were open to anyone with a solid business idea. "The best entrepreneurs solve problems they've experienced personally," Robert said. "You have something many tech founders lack. You understand your customer because you are your customer." Over the next few weeks, Robert became an informal mentor to Maya. He helped her refine her business plan, introduced her to other entrepreneurs, and encouraged her to apply to Techstars, a prestigious startup accelerator program. Maya was terrified of being rejected, but she remembered the promise she had made to Zoe in the airport and decided to take the risk. The application process was intense. Maya had to create a detailed business plan, financial projections, and a prototype of her app. She worked on it every spare moment, during Zoe's naps, on her breaks at both jobs, and late into the night after her daughter was asleep. Maya called her app FinPath, a platform that would use alternative data sources to help people build credit and access financial services. Instead of relying solely on traditional credit scores, FinPath would consider factors like rental payment history, utility bills, and even social media activity to create a more complete picture of someone's financial responsibility. The night before the application deadline, Maya sat in her small apartment reviewing her submission one final time. Zoe was asleep in the bedroom they shared, and Maya could hear her neighbors arguing through the thin walls. She looked around at their humble living space, the second-hand furniture, the small kitchen table where she had written thousands of lines of code, the corner where Zoe's toys were neatly organized. Maya thought about Derek's cruel words at the airport. Some people just don't belong in places like this. She had spent months proving to herself that she did belong, in the tech world, in business meetings, in spaces where people made decisions that affected millions of lives. When she submitted her Techstars application at 11:47 p.m., just 13 minutes before the deadline, Maya felt a mixture of terror and hope. She had put everything into this opportunity, her savings, her time, and her dreams for a better future. 3 weeks later, Maya was working the morning shift at her retail job when her phone rang. The caller ID showed a California number she didn't recognize. Maya almost sent it to voicemail, but something made her answer. "Is this Maya Williams?" the voice asked. "This is Sarah Martinez from Techstars. I'm calling about your application." Maya's heart stopped. She stepped away from the register and walked to a quiet corner of the store. "We were impressed by your application and your prototype," Sarah continued. "We'd like to invite you to participate in our next cohort. The program starts in 6 weeks." Maya couldn't speak for a moment. She had been prepared for rejection, not acceptance. When she finally found her voice, she asked about the details. Techstars would provide $20,000 in funding, 3 months of intensive mentorship, and access to a network of investors and successful entrepreneurs. There was one catch. The program was in Austin, Texas. Maya would need to relocate with Zoe for 3 months, leaving behind her jobs, her support system, and everything familiar. After hanging up, Maya sat in her car in the parking lot and cried. These weren't tears of sadness, but of overwhelming possibility. For the first time since that day in the airport, Maya felt like the future was truly in her hands. Moving to Austin with a 4-year-old daughter and 2 suitcases was one of the scariest things Maya had ever done. The Techstars program provided a small stipend for living expenses, but Maya had to find affordable housing in an expensive city, while managing the demands of an intensive startup accelerator. She rented a tiny 1-bedroom apartment in East Austin, where she and Zoe shared the bedroom, while Maya converted the living room into her workspace. The other Techstars participants were mostly young men with computer science degrees from prestigious universities. Many had wealthy parents supporting them or significant savings from previous tech jobs. Maya often felt out of place during networking events, but she reminded herself that her different background was actually her strength. The program was brutal. Maya attended workshops from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., then spent evenings coding and refining her business model. She had to arrange childcare for Zoe, which consumed most of her stipend, but she was determined to make the most of this opportunity. During the second week, Maya presented her FinPath concept to a panel of experienced entrepreneurs. She explained how traditional credit scoring systems discriminated against people with thin credit files, particularly young adults, immigrants, and people recovering from financial setbacks. Her app would analyze alternative data sources, rental payments, utility bills, education history, and employment patterns to create more inclusive credit assessments. One panelist, A successful fintech entrepreneur named James Sullivan challenged her approach. "How do you prevent fraud if you're not using traditional verification methods?" he asked skeptically. Maya had anticipated this question. She explained her multi-layered verification system, which combined machine learning algorithms with human review processes. She had spent weeks researching similar companies and studying regulatory requirements. "What's your customer acquisition strategy?" another panelist asked. "How do you reach people who are traditionally underserved by financial institutions?" Maya smiled, thinking about her own experiences. "You partner with organizations these communities already trust," she said. "Community centers, churches, immigrant services organizations, universities. You go where people are, not where banks think they should be." After the presentation, James approached Maya privately. "I was skeptical at first," he admitted, "but your answers showed you understand this market better than anyone in the room. Have you considered focusing specifically on helping people build credit rather than trying to be everything to everyone?" This feedback was pivotal. Maya realized that FinPath's core value proposition should be credit building, with other financial services added later. She spent the next month refining the app to focus exclusively on helping users establish and improve their credit scores through alternative data sources. The technical development was challenging. Maya was a capable programmer, but building a secure financial app required expertise she didn't have. She partnered with Alex Rodriguez, another Techstars participant who had previously worked at a major bank. Alex was impressed by Maya's vision and business understanding, while Maya brought the market insight and determination that Alex lacked. Together, they created a prototype that allowed users to link their rental payments, utility bills, and subscription services to build a credit profile. The app would then help users get approved for secured credit cards and small loans, gradually building their traditional credit scores. Maya tested the app with her own financial history first. Within weeks, her credit score had increased by 40 points as the system recognized her consistent rental and utility payments. For someone who had been repeatedly denied loans, seeing those numbers improve felt revolutionary. The Techstars demo day was approaching, the culmination of the year program where startups would pitch to a room full of investors. Maya practiced her presentation obsessively, knowing this was her chance to secure the funding needed to turn FinPath into a real company. 3 days before demo day, Maya received devastating news. Her grandmother, who had been watching Zoe during the Chicago months and providing emotional support, had suffered a stroke and was hospitalized. Maya booked the next flight to Chicago, unsure if she would make it back in time for her presentation. She spent 2 days in the hospital, holding her grandmother's hand and trying to manage Zoe's confusion about why great-grandma couldn't talk properly. Maya's grandmother had been the one person who never doubted her dreams, who had encouraged her to take risks and pursue education even when money was tight. On the evening before demo day, Maya's grandmother squeezed her hand weakly and whispered, "Go show them what we're made of." Maya flew back to Austin that night, arriving at 6 a.m. on the day of presentations. She was exhausted, emotionally drained, and hadn't had time to practice her pitch in 3 days. But as she stood backstage listening to other entrepreneurs present their companies, Maya thought about everyone who had doubted her capabilities, from Derek at the airport to loan officers who had rejected her applications. When her turn came, Maya walked onto the stage and looked out at the audience of investors, mentors, and fellow entrepreneurs. She began by telling them about a single mother who had been humiliated at an airport, denied loans despite responsible financial behavior, and told she didn't belong in certain spaces. "That woman was me," Maya said. "And there are millions of people like me who are invisible to traditional financial institutions. FinPath doesn't just help people build credit, it helps them build dignity." Maya explained how the app worked, showed user growth projections, and outlined her revenue model. But what resonated most with the audience was her personal story and deep understanding of the problem she was solving. When she finished, the applause was longer and more enthusiastic than any other presentation that day. Several investors approached her immediately, asking for meetings and more detailed information. That evening, At the Techstars graduation party, Maya received 3 preliminary offers from venture capital firms. The largest offer was for $2 million in seed funding, more money than Maya had ever imagined having access to. As she held Zoe on the apartment balcony that night, looking out at the Austin skyline, Maya thought about how far they had come from that humiliating day in the airport. She was no longer the powerless woman counting coins at a food counter. She was an entrepreneur with a product that could help millions of people and investors who believed in her vision. But Maya knew this was just the beginning. Building a successful company would require even more determination than getting to this point. She was ready for the challenge. Maya chose to accept funding from Meridian Ventures, led by partner Lisa Thompson, who had built and sold 2 successful fintech companies. Lisa understood the challenges of being a woman in tech and was passionate about investing in diverse founders solving real-world problems. With $2 million in funding, Maya faced decisions she had never imagined having to make. She needed to hire employees, lease office space, navigate complex financial regulations, and scale her technology to handle thousands of users. The responsibility was overwhelming, but Maya approached each challenge with the same determination that had carried her through the Techstars program. Maya's first hire was Alex Rodriguez as her co-founder and CTO. Together, they recruited a small team of engineers and designers who believed in FinPath's mission. Maya insisted on building a diverse team, knowing that creating an inclusive product required inclusive perspectives. The company's first office was a modest space in a converted warehouse in Austin's startup district. Maya hung a photo of herself and Zoe from their airport experience on her office wall, not as a reminder of pain, but as motivation to keep fighting for people who felt invisible. FinPath officially launched 6 months after demo day. The app's initial user base grew through word of mouth and partnerships with community organizations. Maya had been right about her distribution strategy. People trusted recommendations from organizations they already knew, rather than traditional advertising. The early user feedback was incredible. Maria Santos, a recent immigrant who worked as a housekeeper, saw her credit score increase by 60 points in 3 months after FinPath began reporting her rental and utility payments. James Mitchell, a college graduate with student loans but no credit history, qualified for his first credit card after using FinPath to demonstrate his financial responsibility. These success stories attracted media attention. TechCrunch wrote about FinPath as a revolutionary approach to credit scoring, and Maya was invited to speak at financial inclusion conferences. She always made sure to mention that her inspiration came from personal experience with financial discrimination. However, success brought new challenges. Traditional credit reporting agencies pushed back against FinPath's methods, arguing that alternative data wasn't reliable for assessing creditworthiness. Some competitors tried to copy FinPath's approach, and Maya had to fight several patent disputes. The most difficult challenge came during FinPath's second year. The economic downturn led to increased loan defaults across the industry, and some investors questioned whether FinPath's alternative credit assessments were truly accurate. Several users who had been approved for loans through FinPath's recommendations defaulted on their payments. Maya faced intense scrutiny from investors, regulators, and the media. Critics argued that she was irresponsibly lending to high-risk borrowers, potentially putting vulnerable people in worse financial situations. There were days when Maya wondered if she was wrong about her approach, if traditional credit scoring existed for good reasons. The breakthrough came when Maya analyzed the default data more carefully. Users who defaulted weren't failing because FinPath's assessments were wrong. They were facing unexpected life events like job loss, medical emergencies, or family crises. Traditional credit scoring wouldn't have predicted these situations either. Maya realized that FinPath needed to evolve beyond just credit assessment. The app should help users build comprehensive financial resilience, not just access credit. She led the development of new features, including emergency savings tools, financial education modules, and connections to social services during crises. This pivot required additional funding. Maya spent months in investor meetings, defending her vision while acknowledging the lessons learned from early challenges. Some investors lost confidence and declined to participate in the Series A funding round. But Lisa Thompson from Meridian Ventures doubled down on her support. Maya's willingness to adapt and improve shows exactly why we invested in her, Lisa told other potential investors. She's not just building an app, she's building a movement toward financial justice. The Series A round ultimately closed at $15 million, with participation from several impact-focused venture capital firms. Maya used the funding to expand FinPath's team and develop partnerships with major financial institutions who wanted to reach underserved communities. 2 years after launch, FinPath had 500,000 active users and had helped people access over $100 million in credit. Maya was featured on the cover of Fast Company magazine as one of the most creative entrepreneurs and spoke at South by Southwest about technology's role in promoting economic equality. During one interview, a journalist asked Maya about her background and what initially motivated her to start FinPath. Maya told the story about Derek at the airport, how his dismissive treatment had crystallized her understanding of systemic barriers facing people like her. The interviewer was intrigued. "Have you ever thought about reaching out to that airport worker, showing him how wrong he was about you?" Maya had thought about Derek many times over the years, especially during difficult moments when she wondered if she really belonged in the tech world, but she realized that proving him wrong wasn't the point anymore. Her success wasn't about Derek. It was about the 500,000 people who were building better financial futures through FinPath. "I don't need his validation," Maya said. "I needed to prove something to myself and to create opportunities for others. His opinion of me that day doesn't matter anymore." As FinPath continued growing, Maya began receiving recognition from organizations focused on diversity and entrepreneurship. She was invited to mentor other women and minority founders, sharing the lessons she had learned about building a company while navigating systemic barriers. Maya never forgot where she came from. She established a scholarship program for single mothers pursuing computer science degrees and regularly spoke at community colleges and high schools in underserved areas. When young people told her they couldn't imagine starting their own companies, Maya would show them photos of herself and Zoe from their early apartment in Chicago. "I started with nothing but an idea and determination," she would tell them. "If you have those two things, you have enough." By its 4th year, FinPath had become one of the fastest-growing fintech companies in America. Maya had expanded the team to over 200 employees across offices in Austin, Chicago, and Atlanta. The company had processed over $1 billion in loans and helped more than 2 million people improve their credit scores. Maya's success attracted attention from major financial institutions who wanted to acquire FinPath. J.P. Morgan Chase offered $400 million, followed by higher offers from Wells Fargo and Bank of America. These were life-changing sums of money that would make Maya incredibly wealthy and provide financial security for Zoe's future. But Maya wrestled with whether selling to a big bank would compromise FinPath's mission. She had started the company to help people who were ignored by traditional financial institutions. Would these same institutions truly serve FinPath's users, or would they gradually eliminate the features that made the app revolutionary? Maya spent weeks in discussions with potential acquirers, trying to negotiate terms that would protect FinPath's mission. She insisted on maintaining the alternative credit scoring methods, continuing partnerships with community organizations, and preserving the app's focus on financial education and empowerment. The negotiations were complex and emotionally draining.
Maya was advised by lawyers, investment bankers, and board members who each had different opinions about the best path forward. Some argued that selling would allow her to start new ventures and help even more people. Others believed that maintaining
independence was crucial for FinPath's long-term impact. During this period of uncertainty, Maya received an unexpected call that changed everything. Bloomberg News wanted to feature FinPath in a major story about minority-founded unicorn companies, startups valued at over $1 billion. The reporter, Sarah Kim, had been tracking FinPath's growth and believed the company was approaching unicorn status. Maya was skeptical. While FinPath was growing rapidly, she estimated the company's value at around $300 to $400 million based on recent acquisition offers. Sarah explained that her analysis considered FinPath's user growth, market potential, and comparable companies. She believed FinPath could be valued at $900 million or higher in the right funding round. This conversation prompted Maya to reconsider her options. Instead of selling to an established bank, what if she raised a large Series C funding round that would give her the resources to compete directly with traditional financial institutions? Maya assembled her leadership team and spent 2 weeks developing a new strategic plan. FinPath would expand internationally, launch additional financial products, and build partnerships with employers and universities. The goal was to create a comprehensive financial platform that could serve as an alternative to traditional banks. The Series C fundraising process was intense. Maya pitched to venture capital firms, sovereign wealth funds, and strategic investors around the world. Her vision was ambitious. She wanted to raise $150 million to fuel rapid expansion and achieve profitability within 2 years. During one presentation to Tiger Global Management, a partner asked Maya about her long-term vision. For FinPath, Maya described her dream of creating a financial system that measured people by their potential rather than their past, that provided opportunities instead of barriers. Traditional banks profit from keeping people in financial uncertainty, Maya explained. We profit from helping people achieve financial stability. That alignment makes us more sustainable, not less. The funding round generated significant interest from investors who were impressed by FinPath's growth metrics and social impact. Maya ultimately accepted $200 million from a consortium led by Tiger Global and including participation from Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, and several impact investment funds. The new funding round valued FinPath at $1.2 billion, officially making it a unicorn company. Maya became one of the few Black women to found a billion-dollar startup, a milestone that attracted national media attention. Forbes featured Maya on their cover with the headline, "The Credit Revolutionary." The article detailed her journey from struggling single mother to tech entrepreneur, including the airport incident that had first motivated her to challenge financial discrimination. The media coverage was overwhelming. Maya appeared on CNBC, Bloomberg TV, and several podcasts discussing entrepreneurship and financial inclusion. She was invited to speak at the White House about minority business development and testified before Congress about the need for financial services reform. But the attention also brought challenges. Maya faced increased scrutiny from competitors, regulators, and critics, who questioned whether she was truly qualified to run a billion-dollar company. Some commentators suggested that her success was primarily due to favorable media coverage, rather than business fundamentals. Maya tried to stay focused on FinPath's mission despite the external pressure. She used her platform to advocate for other minority entrepreneurs and continued mentoring young founders through various accelerator programs. The most meaningful recognition came from FinPath's users. Maya received thousands of messages from people whose lives had been changed by the app. Parents who had qualified for mortgages, students who had been approved for educational loans, small business owners who had accessed working capital for the first time. One message particularly moved Maya. It was from Jennifer Walsh, a single mother from Detroit who had used FinPath to build credit after a divorce left her with damaged finances. Jennifer had been approved for a car loan, enabling her to take a better job that required reliable transportation. She wrote, "FinPath didn't just improve my credit score, it gave me hope that my situation could change." Reading messages like, Jennifer's reminded Maya why she had started FinPath and why maintaining the company's independence was so important. She wasn't just building a valuable business, she was creating tools for economic empowerment. As Maya reflected on her journey from that humiliating day in the airport to becoming a billionaire entrepreneur, she realized that Derek's cruel treatment had been a catalyst for something much larger than personal success. His assumption that she didn't belong had motivated her to create space for millions of other people who had been told they didn't belong. Maya kept the newspaper clipping from her first Forbes cover in her office, next to the photo of herself and Zoe from the airport. Both images reminded her of how far she had come and how much further she wanted to go. 5 years after Maya's appearance on the Forbes cover, FinPath had grown into a global financial services company, serving over 10 million users across North America, Latin America, and parts of Europe. The company went public with a valuation of $4.2 billion, making Maya one of the wealthiest self-made women in America. Maya used her wealth and influence to establish the FinPath Foundation, which provided microloans to women entrepreneurs in developing countries and funded financial literacy programs in underserved American communities. She also created a $100 million venture capital fund focused exclusively on investing in companies founded by women and minorities. Now in her early 40s, Maya had become a recognized leader in both the tech industry and social justice movements. She served on the boards of several major corporations and nonprofit organizations, always advocating for more inclusive business practices and economic policies. Zoe, now 15 years old, had grown up watching her mother build something extraordinary from nothing. She was a confident teenager who excelled in school and showed interest in both technology and social activism. Maya made sure Zoe understood that their current comfortable life hadn't always been their reality. One evening, while Maya was working, late in her home office, Zoe approached her with a school assignment about inspiring women in business. "Mom, can you tell me again about how you started FinPath?" she asked. Maya closed her laptop and smiled. Over the years, she had told this story countless times to reporters, investors, and conference audiences. But telling it to her daughter always felt different. "It started with someone being cruel to us," Maya began. "Do you remember that man at the airport when you were little?" Zoe nodded. She was too young at the time to fully understand what had happened, but Maya had explained it to her as she grew older. "He said we didn't belong there." "That's right," Maya said. "And for a long time I was angry about that. But eventually I realized that his opinion didn't matter. What mattered was proving to myself that I belonged wherever I chose to be." Maya explained how that airport experience had crystallized her understanding of the barriers that keep people from achieving financial stability. It wasn't just about individual prejudice like Derek's. It was about systems that excluded people based on incomplete information. FinPath exists because millions of people are judged unfairly by traditional financial institutions. Maya continued. "We created a better way to evaluate people's potential." As they talked, Maya reflected on how much had changed since that day in the Atlanta airport. Derek probably had no idea that his customer had gone on to build a billion-dollar company. Maya sometimes wondered what he would think if he knew, but she had long ago stopped caring about his opinion. The real vindication came from FinPath's impact. The company had helped users access over $50 billion in credit, enabling people to buy homes, start businesses, and pursue education. Maya received regular updates about the positive outcomes: families who had achieved home ownership, entrepreneurs who had launched successful businesses, students who had graduated from college. Maya's success had also paved the way for other minority entrepreneurs. Several companies founded by her former employees had achieved significant success, and the venture capital fund she established had invested in dozens of promising startups led by diverse founders. In recognition of her contributions to financial inclusion and entrepreneurship, Maya received numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom. During the White House ceremony, President Harris spoke about Maya's journey from struggling single mother to transformative business leader. "Maya Williams represents the best of American entrepreneurship," the president said. "She saw a problem that affected millions of people, and she built a solution that changed lives." Her story reminds us that innovation comes from understanding real challenges, not just from having access to capital. Standing in the East Room with Zoe beside her, Maya thought about all the people who had supported her journey. Her grandmother, who had encouraged her dreams; Robert Chen, who had introduced her to the startup world; Lisa Thompson, who had believed in her vision when others doubted. After the ceremony, Maya was approached by a young woman named Carmen Rodriguez, who worked in the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy. Carmen explained that she had used FinPath during college to build credit and qualify for student loans. "Your app made it possible for me to finish my degree in computer science," Carmen said. "Now I'm working on technology policy that will help more people like us succeed. Thank you for showing me what was possible." Conversations like this one reminded Maya why her work mattered beyond financial returns. FinPath had created a ripple effect, enabling people to pursue opportunities that seemed impossible before. Later that year, Maya decided to step back from day-to-day operations at FinPath to focus on broader systemic change. She appointed Alex Rodriguez as CEO while remaining as executive chairman. Maya wanted to use her platform to advocate for policy changes that would make the entire financial system more inclusive. She established the Institute for Financial Justice, a think tank that researched economic inequality and proposed legislative solutions. The Institute's first major report documented how traditional credit scoring perpetuated racial and gender disparities in access to capital. Maya also began writing a book about her experiences, hoping to inspire other entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds. The book, titled Belonging Everywhere, became a bestseller and was translated into 12 languages. One afternoon, while Maya was signing books at a Chicago bookstore near her old neighborhood, she noticed an elderly woman in line who looked familiar. As the woman approached the signing table, Maya realized it was the kind stranger who had offered to help pay for food during the airport incident years earlier. "I remember you," the woman said with a smile. "You were traveling with your little daughter, and that awful man at the cafe was so rude to you." Maya was amazed that this woman remembered such a brief encounter from so many years ago. "You tried to help us," Maya said. "That meant so much to me. I've been following your success. In the news," the woman continued. "I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. You turned that terrible experience into something beautiful." As Maya signed the woman's book, she wrote, "Thank you for showing kindness when I needed it most. Small acts of compassion can change everything." The Ait encounter reminded Maya that her story wasn't just about overcoming Derek's cruelty. It was also about the people who had shown her support along the way. Building a successful company required both determination to prove doubters wrong and wisdom to accept help from those who believed in her potential. As FinPath continued growing under Alex's leadership, Maya focused on her next venture, a nonprofit organization that provided direct cash payments to low-income families, similar to universal basic income programs. She believed that financial stability was a human right, not a privilege to be earned through complex applications and credit checks. Maya's influence extended far beyond the business world. She was regularly consulted by policymakers, spoke at international conferences about economic inequality, and served as a mentor to hundreds of young entrepreneurs. During one interview with 60 Minutes, the reporter asked Maya what she would say to Derek if she encountered him today. Maya paused thoughtfully before answering. "I would thank him," she said. "His cruelty taught me that I couldn't wait for other people to create opportunities for me. I had to build them myself. In trying to make me feel small, he motivated me to dream bigger than I ever had before." Maya's story became a case study in business schools around the world, demonstrating how personal experience with systemic problems could inspire revolutionary solutions. Students learned not just about building successful companies, but about the importance of mission-driven entrepreneurship. On the 10-year anniversary of FinPath's founding, Maya was invited to give the commencement address at her alma mater. Standing before hundreds of graduates, she shared the lessons she had learned about resilience, innovation, and the power of believing in yourself when others don't. "Some of you will face people who tell you that you don't belong," Maya told the graduates. "When that happens, remember that belonging isn't something others give you. It's something you claim for yourself. And once you claim it, use your position to help others claim theirs." As Maya looked out at the young faces in the audience, she saw future entrepreneurs, innovators, and change-makers. Some would face discrimination and setbacks just as she had. But Maya hoped her story would remind them that obstacles could become opportunities, and that the most powerful businesses often came from solving problems that touched people's lives, personally. Years later, when business historians wrote about the transformation of the financial services industry in the early 21st century, they would point to FinPath as a turning point. But Maya knew the real victory wasn't measured in valuations or market share. It was measured in the millions of people who had been able to build better lives because someone had finally seen their potential instead of just their past.